Hi, Shirley.
Hi, Aliena.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
Oh, good. Um, I think we should get started and we'll have you introduce yourself, tell our viewers who you are and where you're from and where you're currently based.
My name's Shirley Apthorp. I am the winner of one of last year's Classical Next Innovation Awards and the director of Umculo, which is an organization dedicated to social change through music in South Africa and also based in Germany, which is where I live. I was born in South Africa to a family that has been in the country for generations. But I grew up in Australia where my parents moved. So, kind of in political exile. I grew up as a South African in Australia. And then I moved to Germany to work as a music journalist as a young adult and started returning to South Africa post democracy. After some years of observing the music scene there, I set up Umculo um, with a lot of naivety and enthusiasm and kind of learning by doing some 10 years ago.
You wear many hats, obviously, but I remember at the award ceremony at the 2019 edition of Classical Next, you gave a very moving speech about your work at Umculo, talking about opera as a whole, but also the work that Umculo does. It engages and empowers the people that are involved with the project. And as someone who's so involved in the musical scene in South Africa, could you tell us a little bit about what's happening in South Africa at the moment in light of the coronavirus pandemic?
As a person who's very engaged in opera in Europe, I've always been riveted by opera in South Africa because it's a completely different ball game in a country where everybody sings. Making opera in South Africa is different for so many reasons, partly because the economic situation there is really different. There's an awful lot of poverty in South Africa. But also, in most of the rest of the world, opera is something that rich people do. But in South Africa, opera is seen as something that everybody can do. Anyone who has a voice can sing opera. And so opera is very much something that's seen as belonging to the poor in South Africa. Literally hundreds and thousands of children who live below the poverty line sing opera with great passion and enthusiasm in their school choirs. And what's happening now, when people can't meet together, is that all the music programs that I'm aware of, all the programs we've worked with, have turned their hands to feeding schemes. So really all the partners that we've worked with until now are suddenly frantically involved in gathering food and just feeding people because it's literally that bad in South Africa. The lockdown has meant that people can't work, and if you can't work, there's no social security. So it's quite literally a case of people not being able to eat. And every socially engaged project has risen to meet that need, because if they don't, people simply can't eat. And that really has struck a deep chord with me. We can't get on a plane over there to physically help. And the lockdown also, for those who are there, has been presenting big challenges. But people like Sophia Welz, who runs the National Youth Orchestra there, Leanne Dolman of the Halt Music Project Trust, Christine Bam, who runs the choir, they're all just rolling up their sleeves and mucking down. And those who, they're usually people on a low income, which is anyone who runs a music project. They're knocking on people's doors in their communities and saying, right, how many people can you feed? Have you got a tin of beans? And they're mobilizing, and they're getting out there and they're feeding people.
As someone who is geographically far away at the moment, I understand that you're in your own way helping contribute to the cause. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
It crept up on me because normally I'm an opera critic. That's what I do, and I love it. And overnight, there's no opera to write about. It's all gone. It's like having the rug pulled from under your feet. I found I was frozen, absolutely frozen as a writer. I have writer's block. I can't write. And I live in a share house in Berlin. I live with a vocal accompanist, a pianist, and a dramaturg. And all of us are kind of locked in together. And what happened was I started sewing face masks so that we would be safe. And it kind of got out of control. I started sewing face masks for friends, and I can't just like do anything boring, so I started using t-shirt transfers to put images on the face masks that related to the people that I was sewing them for. I have a friend Catherine Milliken, she's a composer. She wrote 2 operas for us together with Robert Lehmeyer in South Africa. But I first encountered her when she was playing the world premiere of a version of Stockhausen's Spiral at the Salzburg Festival on the oboe. So I thought, wouldn't it be funny to do a Spiral mask for her? So I found online an image from Stockhausen's score for Spiral, and I printed it onto a face mask for her. And she was thrilled, and she put a picture on Facebook, and suddenly all the Stockhausen people were like, I want one of those, I want one of those, I played the premiere of this and I really need a mask of this. I kind of fell into it. I ended up starting a web shop I'm not breaking copyright where I can help it, but I've ended up making a web shop selling masks, and where it all came together was at the same time as I was doing this, I was watching what was happening in South Africa, and I have a friend who runs an organization in the Cape Flats with whom I've been very much in touch. And through her, I met Ms. Scholz, who runs another organization called Where Rainbows Meet. And I saw that she has a bunch of women sewing face masks, and the profit from selling the face masks goes straight into her feeding scheme. And I thought, well, why don't I donate the money of the price of one of their face masks each time I sell one of mine into their feeding scheme? So I'm donating the price of a South African mask for each mask that I sell to Where Rainbows Meet.
Very cool. Well, could you show us some of your masks? Have you got some?
Yeah, here's what a finished mask looks like. I put a wire in the top so that you can fit it over your nose nice and snugly. Now you won't be able to hear me talk.
Oh, I love it, and it matches your top as well. How coordinated.
Yeah, these are dizers. They're a very special kind of flower that grow on Table Mountain.
And you're taking requests for designs, or are you doing sort of a stock of a particular design or a few?
Most of the designs I've done, I then put up on the website. And you can order existing designs. I also have a whole bunch of really funky fabrics that people can just choose. That I got actually traditional African fabrics are printed in Holland. And so African print, what we know as African print, is always been printed in the Netherlands and then traded down the west coast of Africa. So you think of African print as something that's made in Africa, but in fact it's always been made in Holland.
So you have your African masks and the music-inspired, music-themed masks.
Yes, and I've got a whole lot of random other things. I've got cherry blossoms. I've got mountains. I've got I've just had requests for the trance flag, and the leather scene flag has gone up there. And it's responding to the situation as it is. But I'm very grateful to Where Rainbows Meet for agreeing to partner with us and for being very welcoming and generous about the partnership. Because I think it's a scary time. It's a time full of uncertainties, and to have found purpose early on in it, it's really great for my state of mind. I mean, that sounds selfish, but it helps. It helps to know what you're doing and why. And then it's always this thing of like one step at a time. Like what is one thing that I can do? Break it down into bite-sized pieces. What is the one little thing? And I can make masks. And the thing that it's my first ever website. I'm doing a whole lot of things I've never done before, and a lot of the feedback I've had for the website has been that it's very positive and bright and cheerful. And that wasn't something I aimed for, but I love making the masks. It makes me happy. And if that's how it's coming across, that's great. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of positivity in an uncertain time, and I think it's fantastic. And I think it's wonderful for Classical Next to look back on a previous Innovation Award recipient and to be able to see what it is that you're doing and how you're responding to all that's going on. And it's just wonderful to see.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I certainly really didn't see it coming, but I'm very happy to be able to draw together the threads of helping meet acute need in South Africa, together with staying in touch with my musical connections in Europe in a way that at least makes them smile. There's some comfort in it. It's pathetic a mask cannot make up for a cancelled production, but it's a gesture.
And it helps support what's going on in your home country, and it does good all around.
Yeah, I hope so. And I mean, I think this coronavirus is going to be with us for rather a while now. And B, I think the world that we go back to is going to be different from the world that we left. And I think it's going to be up to all of us to think creatively about the future. And I think and I hope the future is going to be one that we need to rebuild together. And it's a question of what kind of future do we want to make?
I like that sentiment and that hope for the future, and we'll leave it there on a positive note. And I thank you again for taking the time to join us. And I look forward to seeing all the masks that you'll continue to make, and where Umculo goes now and into the future as well.
Well, thank you very much. If you have a crazy idea for a mask, send it. The crazier the better, or the sillier, or the most delightful. Send them. Some of my best designs have come from people sending me ideas. So, and we do also have we have a section on the webpage saying, "I like your masks, but they're too expensive." So we'll talk to. We know how it is to not be able to afford something. If you can't talk to us, we'll make a deal.